What's going on, everybody? I'm going to talk about the Alabama versus Kentucky. Kind of got some post game thoughts here. I have a lot of them actually. I got like two full pages of notes that I'm going to try to get through really fast so I can squeeze in and try not to make this video extremely long. Uh, but one of the things I do want to start off with is that it was a 28-point difference, 34-6, and that is technically a blowout. A lot of people probably thought that Alabama would win by more. They thought that Alabama didn't look as good, and there was reasons for that. I'm kind of trying to dive into that. So the first thing I want to say is that the defense played really well. Outside of like that early drive where they got that first field goal, uh, where they kind of allowed a few completions here and there. Other than that, they shut them down, and Kentucky just offensive line was just manhandled, and the quarterback had nothing to do. They played really well, and also the offense shot themselves in the foot, which I'll get into right now. So I'm just gonna kind of go through all the little thoughts that ran through my mind as the game went on. So on that first jet sweep that Calvin Ridley took, he looked so fast, and I knew he was fast. They say he ran a 4.3 in the 40 in the spring, but like since his time at Alabama, I haven't seen him display his speed. If you get what I mean, I haven't seen him just take off and be like, whoa, his speed really impresses me. Kind of like Amari Cooper did a lot when he was there. I was impressed by Amari Cooper's speed overtaking coverage, but Calvin really looked really fast. So that was just something really interesting. Also, Cam Sims got a jet sweep, and he should not be doing jet sweeps because he's a tall, big body receiver, and he doesn't really have that same explosive speed, and so his jet sweep wasn't that successful. So it's just something maybe Lane Kiffin wants to take a look at. I was surprised to see Damian Harris play. He had that ankle injury last week, and I thought they'll keep him out, keep him safe. And I was like, whoa, it's interesting that he played this game. Uh, we'll see what happens there. I thought maybe they should have been more cautious, but they know who can play, and maybe he just really wanted to play in front of his home state, and so they let him get a few plays in here and there. Um, so here's where the Alabama's offense kind of shot themselves in the foot and made the game not look as impressive as it could have been. So on the first drive, Alabama had gotten into Kentucky territory very easily, I might add. When Jonah Williams, we missed a third down conversion. It was 4th and 2, and so Jonah Williams false started on that 4th and 2. And what I really liked was that Hurts went to him and told him to slow down. That is good leadership. I see why he won the starting quarterback position. He went to Jonah Williams and said, "Hey man, gotta like slow down, and just keep it together." And that is great leadership, especially from a freshman. You don't see that too often. And I can, like I said, I can see why he won over the team, and that's really good. So on that 4th and 7 play afterwards, Jalen Hurts missed. Well, I wouldn't say missed. He threw behind Cam Sims, and Cam Sims should have caught the ball, but Jalen Hurts was a little bit late on the throw, and that caused Cam Sims to have to turn around and try to make a difficult catch. But he should have caught it, and Alabama shot themselves in the foot, and we turned the ball over on down. So it really wasn't Kentucky's defense that much that stopped us there on that first drive. Also, another thing I noticed that Joshua Jacobs is a great runner. Around the 8:40 mark of the first quarter, he had this run where he just kept his feet moving, and he like carried the power for 2 or 3 or 4 more yards. And he's not a big guy; he's only like 204 pounds. Also, I noticed that he has great moves in the open field. Later on, Hurts overthrew OJ Howard around the 7-minute mark of the first quarter, and it was a bad overthrow. Uh, the Kentucky guy was there, and I think Jalen Hurts was trying to overcompensate for it, and he threw the ball a little bit too far. He didn't trust OJ to get to the ball. So, and then the next play, this is the second drive of the game, so two consecutive drives. He had the ball knocked out of his hand by Bo Scarborough on a read option fake, and that was a fumble that Kentucky recovered. So Kentucky didn't do a lot to stop Alabama since Alabama shot themselves in the foot. And then on Kentucky's drive, ensuing drive, Ronnie Harrison, I noticed he got beat on a crossing route. And I noticed a few times throughout this season where Ronnie Harrison has been beat by Evan Ingram and a few other people. Now, kind of worries me. Not worries. I'm a little concerned about maybe where he is in his coverage technique right now, and maybe getting him locked in on that. So watch out for Ronnie Harrison. Around the 5:20 mark in the game in the first quarter, Alabama defense had the whole line covered, and I just thought this was really interesting. There were no gaps available, and the Kentucky quarterback threw the ball, and Alabama players just jumped up and knocked the ball down. And they left Eddie Jackson in the back to cover whoever leaked out, but they had covered the entire line and covered all the gaps. That's really sound football. Also, Christian Miller, when he got in the game early on, he secured the edge really well on his rush. So he started out rushing from the jack linebacker position, but he saw the quarterback stay, so he turned around and made sure the quarterback couldn't get away. Extremely good play. Also, when Alabama got the ball back, Jalen seemed to hold the ball too long on the next play, and uh, and when he threw it, uh, he kind of sets everything behind. I think he's waiting on people to get open rather than throwing the ball open or getting rid of the ball. But one thing I did notice that Hurts and the O line they execute the QB draw very very well. Like when they do the QB draw, it seems to work like 90% of the time. Also, Joshua Jacobs is a magician in the trenches. Around the 2:15 mark of the first quarter, he took this handoff and he got in there and he did like two or three little dance steps and he was off for like 10 yards. And I was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how he got through there, but watching Joshua Jacobs run is a treat. And then later on, here's some more notes. Jalen is. Oh, I noticed he was not afraid to throw it away, which is good. He when he doesn't have a play that he doesn't think he can complete, he'll run over and throw it out of bounds, throw the ball away. That is really really good. Albeit later on in the game, he ran out of bounds instead of throwing the ball away, and he lost a few yards. But he does not take turnovers, and that is really good to see. I noticed that Kentucky brought a lot of pressure from places Alabama did not expect. There was a couple, or three or four times where I saw Jalen get the snap, and all of a sudden a cornerback comes from the side, or that a linebacker stunt and run through the middle, and Jalen had to escape the pressure. So Alabama's offensive line has to work on picking that up a little bit better. Another thing I noticed is that Eddie Jackson read this wide receiver screen really, really well around the 30-second mark of the first quarter. He ran up like a missile and stopped the wide receiver before he had a chance to get going. And I realized that the staff trust him to make good decisions when they put him in those type of places, like one-on-one or leaving him as the last line of defense. They trust him. Also, his return skills are deadly. They might be better than Cyrus Jones. On that punt return, he did some crazy moves and like he has good awareness of the players around him, so he's always moving and getting himself in position to get to open field. Reuben Foster is extremely fast. Around the 13-minute mark of the second quarter, he ran in and killed the quarterback, and I swear it was within like 2 seconds of the play being snapped. Also, Damian Harris probably should have sat. I just noticed him getting another play again, and he seemed like he was a little cautious, so maybe just keep him down. Run blocking looked good on the first touchdown drive that Alabama had in the second quarter, where they ran the ball seven straight times. That was good. Run blocking was fantastic. I can't say more. Cam Robinson was pancaking people. So even though Jacobs is not as big, he is a tough runner. I saw that on that drive. And he continually just ran through people and made people miss and got some tough yardage. Also in the second quarter, we saw more backup defensive linemen like Dakota Ball play, and that was really good to see. Deshaun Hand played a lot too, and so they're trying to develop depth there, and they're doing a good job with that. Also, early on in the game, I noticed that Marlon Humphrey he had some completions on him, like two or three in the game, maybe two, but he was really close to the receiver both times. He was right on the receiver's hips, and one play he just didn't get to the ball fast enough. So he's playing the ball, which is something that he's been improving upon, which is good. That's what I like to see. Even if he didn't get the interception or the breakup, he played the ball. He almost got it. The receiver just made a great play, and I think that's what Nick Saban meant by he said, "Don't underestimate these Kentucky skill position players. Those wide receivers, lanky, tall, and they caught the ball with their hands." And so, even though he had those completions on him, he was right there and he played the ball well. That's what I like to see. I'll take that in completion. Like I was saying, I saw Deshaun Hand, I saw Anthony Jennings. They play more, and the defensive line does not move consistently throughout the game. Kentucky's players tried to, push the Alabama D line, and they did not move. Alabama's defensive line just made a front, and I did not see them get blown off the ball. Uh, I'll continue to go. Oh yeah, on the Harrison's fumble return, he looked so fast. So his bad play, it doesn't seem to be due to a lack of athleticism. It seems to be maybe something with his, adherence to the playbook, or not necessarily the playbook, but I guess just getting comfortable with his position as safety, covering certain guys. And so that's really interesting to see moving forward. I know he's fast, but he seems to have to pull something together. One thing that's really bothering me is that Lane Kiffin seems hesitant to spam the play that's working. I always say sometimes, and it doesn't have to be all the time because it makes you a little it makes you predictable. Like that's what got Les Miles fired, I believe. A lot of people say we're tired of that 3 yards in a cloud of dust, which I really love, by the way. But a lot of people got tired of continually running the ball. Uh, but there are times where you can continue to just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and it works. So I get that we want diversity in the play calling so that the defense is off balance, but being able to call a running play over and over again is really helpful as well. And I think Lane Kiffin should implement that a little bit more. Another thing that I noticed that Bo Scarborough is getting a few more carries. They're trying to get him ready, and so that was good to see. Um, Trying to get him in the game. He looked good. He moves really well for a guy his size, as they've been noting all summer. But he has to just kind of put it all together. Another few things about Hurts throws that I noticed that Hurts he had a bad throw to Howard again later on in the game. It was a play where OJ Howard he threw it to him and Howard kind of fell over and hurt his shoulder, but he overthrew him to the outside, and I was like, ugh. And I think it's because he's trying not to make a mistake, so he's trying to make sure that he can put the ball in the place where where the defensive back doesn't have a chance to really interfere with it. But that can mess with your accuracy. And also, he overthrew Ridley within 2 minutes of I think it was the third quarter or fourth quarter, one of them. But yeah, and that play where Ridley ran down the field and he had the cornerback and the safety beat, Hurts put it a little bit too far to the outside. So, like I said, I think he's trying to make sure that he doesn't throw an interception. And that'll come with time. So, it's good that he doesn't make mistakes and that he's not trying to be a gunslinger, but there's times where you need to be able to fit the ball in a little bit more accurately. And I think he has the ability to do it, but he seems to not want to do it so that he doesn't make a mistake. And that's something they're going to work with him on. I believe he's like getting that down. He's getting better each week, so it's good. Because even later on in the game, Foster he threw a fade route to Robert Foster. No, 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 no. That's later on. Uh, he missed this fade route to Robert Foster, also within 2 minutes of the third or fourth quarter. But Foster had a fade route and he just threw it a little bit too far and it went over their head. And Lane Kiffin kind of got with him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" But with that being said, I'm criticizing his deep throws just to kind of give you an idea. But his short to intermediate throws are his better ones. They seem to be doing really, really good. Like when he's throwing short and intermediate, they're hitting the receiver in stride on target, and the receiver's catching the ball and being able to get to where they need to be. Even that slant route across the middle to Gary Dieter later on in the game, he can really hit those throws. I think he's more comfortable with those throws. He'll take a risk better with those throws than he will with the defense. And so, with that being said, the reason why he's able to hit those throws better is because his timing is seeming to get better. And I think all of this is playing well together. So he's getting the ball, he's reading the coverage a little bit faster, and he's throwing it. And there were times where he didn't do that as well, but for the most part, he did that really good. And I think that's going to eventually going to help him be able to hit those deep throws that I was just talking about. Also, in his second, oh no, yeah. So forget that mess I was saying about the third or fourth quarter within the 2 minutes with the bad throw to Howard and Ridley and Foster. That was within 2 minutes of the second quarter before halftime. And so now after halftime, Tim Williams' first play in was really impactful. It was actually amazing. As soon as he got in, he rushed, put the Kentucky left tackle on his skates, and immediately caused the quarterback to get to the side and throw it away. That's the impact that a Tim Williams can make for your team. He was really, really good. Um, Later on, let me see. Yeah, third quarter, he overthrew Ridley again. Like I said, these are the deep throws where he's trying to overcompensate. So he's a little hesitant to throw guys open. That's where the issue is. He has to be confident taking the throws that'll throw a guy open. So I like that he is safe with the ball, but he tries to be too safe sometimes. So with that, he takes a while to see the check down because he's trying to be safe and make sure the guy's open, but that takes him a little bit too long to stop and throw it to the running back. He didn't throw it to OJ Howard on one play where OJ was out uh, running up the field on the fake wide receiver screen because he was trying to make sure that his receivers were open. He did throw the ball to him. And then also on the next play, he didn't check down to Damian Harris while waiting to Calvin Ridley ran open a little bit further downfield. And he completed that pass deep to Calvin Ridley, but he could have hit Damian Harris for a safer play. And this is all on the first drive of the second half. Deshaun Hand, I noticed he holds points so well because he's so strong. Those stories about him being one of the strongest players on the team, I can definitely see it. He does not move when people try to block him. What I noticed, well, this was really nice. The Kentucky players are a class act. They never had a late or unnecessary hit, even when they had a chance to repeatedly throughout the game against Hurts, against Jacobs, where they would have our guys' legs wrapped up and they would fall into the ground. I didn't see a single Kentucky player come up and try to like hit them before they fell or like fall on them or do anything like that. And I've seen that from other teams and other players, but Kentucky, they did a great job of that, and I respect Kentucky a lot for that. They had plenty of chances to hit Jalen Hurts as he was going down or had his feet wrapped up as he fought for more yardage. I respect that a lot out of a player. Also, what I noticed that Tim is definitely playing the run well. Tim Williams can play the run. Last year, he was a third down specialist. This year, I saw him. He was in the backfield constantly, but not only that, he held up the tackles and watched for the run really well. They really got him to improve a lot, and I think that's improving his draft stock. Tim Williams is becoming one of the better, just all around defensive lineman in the nation. Uh, oh, later on, I finally saw it. Hurts led Ridley well on that last deep post. Yeah, so really went a deep post later on in the game as it was getting closer to the end. And Jalen Hurts threw the ball on time and led Ridley to the ball. And that was one play where I was like, there we go. That's what we need to see. And we just want to see that happen more consistently. So, like I said, even though he does miss some of those deep throws, for the most part, he hits them right on time. So, even though Ridley dropped that last TD, it was like after the post play. Um, Jalen threw a perfectly placed ball to Calvin Ridley, like 2 yards going into the end zone, and really dropped it because I guess the angle was weird and he couldn't really see it. But it was hit. It hit him right in the arms. It hit him right where, and Jalen threw the ball perfectly, and that's one of the reasons why he got the job. He's doing a great job with that. Just some last few things. I saw Joshua Frazier get some playing time, so we get some more backup depth on that defensive line. I saw Hootie Jones get some playing time, so more safety depth. Trevon Diggs is fast. I saw a play where they just use a simple check down to him to get him the ball and see him run, and the guy can move. And he got some moves. Robert Foster is really fast too. That 3-4-3 time in the spring is definitely justified. Saw Lester Cotton get reps. I like Lester Cotton on the line. He couldn't beat out Alfonso Pishbarker, but look for him next year. And even if somebody goes down this year, I believe he's the next man up. Lester Cotton looks really good. Corton Curvin played too. He's been like getting spot duty here and there over the past 2 or 3 years. And at the end, I also noticed that David Cornwell seems to be a bit more engaged on the sideline, calling out the plays than Bateman is, even though Bateman's the backup quarterback. That's really interesting. And finally, Dallas Warmack, one of those last runs of the game, he absolutely pancaked the guy, and that was just really fun to see. This was longer, way longer than I thought it would be, but I had fun talking about it. Thank you for paying attention. Let me know what you all think about it. Let me know what you noticed, or even if you noticed some of the same things I did. Thanks, guys.